When the Western Roman Empire collapsed in 476, the world seemed to witness the end of a great era. The once invincible legions dissolved, the city of Rome was sacked, and the glory of an empire that had once dominated 3 continents appeared to have faded forever. But in the shadow of that decline, a new flame ignited a new empire called Byzantium, inheriting the Roman legacy and transforming it into a spectacular new chapter in history. Imagine standing on the fortified walls of Constantinople in the 6th century, a city often dubbed the New Rome. As the sun sets, the magnificent dome of Hagia Sophia glows like a symbol of power and faith. This is the heart of the Byzantine Empire place, where Roman culture intertwined with Greek spirit, where Christianity became the guiding banner, and where emperors like Justinian I dreamed of restoring the ancient glory of Rome. But was this empire truly as invincible as its predecessor? For over 10 years, Byzantium stood as a bastion between East and West, safeguarding the Roman legacy against waves of invasions from barbarian tribes, Islamic empires, and even betrayals from Western allies. Under the reign of Justinian and Theodora, the empire not only reconquered lost territories, but also left behind wonders like Hagia Sophia and the Justinian Code, the foundation of modern law. Yet that brilliance wouldn't last forever. Plagues, wars, and betrayals gradually eroded the empire, until that fateful day in 1453, when Constantinople fell to the Ottoman Empire, marking the end of an era. Today, we embark on a dramatic journey through the Byzantine Empire, from its radiant days of glory to its final tragic moments. How did an empire rise from the ashes of Rome to become the bridge between East and West? And why did it fall, leaving a legacy that still echoes today? This isn't just a story of survival. It's a lesson in power, hubris, and humanity's resilience in the face of history's relentless tide. Join us as we explore the rise and fall of the Byzantine Empire, a new Roman legacy. Are you ready? In the 4th century, the Roman Empire stood on the brink of a fateful division, its once glorious achievements now threatened by deep cracks. From the Golden Age under Augustus, when stone-paved roads stretched from the icy shores of Britannia to the scorching deserts of Egypt, Rome had ruled the world with invincible legions and monumental architecture like the Colosseum. But that vastness became a double-edged sword. Armies were stretched thin. Northern and eastern borders were relentlessly attacked by barbarian tribes like the Visigoths, Vandals, and Huns, while internally, corruption, civil wars, and weak emperors who rose and fell in rapid succession tore the empire apart. The breaking point came in 285, when Emperor Diocletian, a man with trembling hands but a mind sharp as a blade, made a bold move. He split the empire into 2 halves, East and West, to make it easier to govern. The West, centered in Rome, continued to face invasions, while the East, enriched by Mediterranean trade and a strategic position at the crossroads of the world, began to reveal its latent strength. But was this division a salvation, or merely the first step toward total collapse? That question would only be answered by the events that followed. By 330, one man changed everything: Constantine the Great, a warrior who not only triumphed on the battlefield but also reshaped the destiny of a people. Born to a military family in Naissus, modern-day Serbia, Constantine was not a natural heir, but he used his sword and cunning to claim the throne. The Battle of the Milvian Bridge in 312 was a turning point amid the rain of arrows and blood. He claimed to see a sign of the cross in the sky, a prophecy that led him to a resounding victory over Maxentius. Was this a miracle from God, or a clever psychological tactic by a military genius? Whatever the truth, that victory laid the foundation for a historic decision: the establishment of Constantinople, a new city on the Bosporus, where Europe and Asia meet. Why did he choose this spot? Because it was not only a perfect military position, with natural straits as a fortress, but also the gateway to the Silk Road, where silk from China, spices from India, and gold from the East flowed like an endless river. Constantinople quickly became the jewel of the world, with towering walls, lavish palaces, and bustling ports filled with the laughter of merchants from across the globe. While Rome drowned in chaos under invaders, Constantinople emerged as a beacon of hope. But could it truly bear the weight of Rome's legacy? Or would it evolve into an entirely new empire, distinct and full of challenges? The next great shift came with a revolutionary decision. Constantine legalized Christianity with the Edict of Milan in 313. Before this, Christians were hunted like animals, stoned in the Colosseum, or burned alive under the cold gaze of cheering crowds. But with a single stroke of the pen, Constantine turned them into a symbol of unity, drawing millions in the Eastern Empire to the faith. The first churches rose amid stone streets, their bells ringing like promises of a new future. This faith not only shaped the souls of the people but also laid the foundation for the Byzantine identity, where Christianity became the banner against enemies. Yet not everyone embraced this change. Followers of the old Roman traditions, with their rituals honoring Jupiter and Mars, fiercely opposed it, claiming Constantine had betrayed their ancestors. Meanwhile, the new Christian converts demanded supremacy, sparking the first internal conflicts. This division raised a question. Would this transformation be strong enough to hold the empire together, or would it be the first crack leading to collapse? Picture the scene. Ships laden with goods from around the world docked at Constantinople's port, church bells mingled with the calls of merchants, and golden walls shimmered under the sun. Constantinople was no longer a second Rome. It was an improved version, where Roman culture was reborn with a new Greek and Christian spirit. Structures like the Hippodrome, hosting chariot races and festivals for tens of thousands of cheering spectators, showcased the city's vibrant energy, while churches like Hagia Sophia signaled an era where faith became a spiritual weapon against enemies both within and without. Trade also played a pivotal role in this transformation. Positioned on the Silk Road, Constantinople became the economic heart of the world, with gold, silver, and gems pouring into the imperial treasury like rivers that never ran dry. This wealth nurtured a new aristocratic class, indulging in lavish feasts and opulent palaces, while also funding a formidable army to guard the borders. But with wealth came ambition, and ambition often led to disaster. Power struggles erupted among noble families, and external enemies like the Sassanid Empire began to cast greedy eyes on the city. The first skirmishes broke out, with a clash of swords echoing through the hills, raising the question, could this new empire withstand both internal strife and foreign foes? This transformation was not just a step forward but a gamble with fate, where every decision from building a city to changing religion could determine the future of the Byzantine Empire. And at the heart of it all was Constantine the Great, dubbed the founder of Byzantium. He was not just a warrior, but a visionary reformer who turned a small city into the beating heart of a new empire. After the Milvian Bridge, Constantine didn't stop at victory. He moved the capital from Rome to Constantinople, making it a symbol of a new empire where culture and faith intertwined in every brick. He issued the Edict of Milan, paving the way for Christianity, and convened the Council of Nicaea in 325 to unify the church, an event so dramatic that bishops nearly turned the gathering into a battlefield with their heated debates. These decisions made him a legend, but they also created enemy-sold Roman conservatives, dissenting sects, and even former allies. Historians still debate, was he a savior or a disruptor of a fragile empire? The answer lies in Byzantium's journey after his death in 337, leaving behind a legacy both glorious and fraught with challenges. Constantinople continued to grow, with new stone-paved roads, radiant churches, and a thriving economy. But the first cracks had appeared: religious conflicts, noble power struggles, and shadowy conspiracies from external rivals. Could this empire overcome these challenges to reach new heights? Or would it repeat the fate of its Western sibling, fading into oblivion? The journey had just begun, and we'll explore each step in this dramatic tale, where every move was a battle for survival, and every decision a gamble with history. Imagine an empire rising from the ruins of the past, where the walls of Constantinople gleam under the sun, and the bells of churches echo through bustling streets. More than a century has passed since Constantine the Great laid the first stone for Byzantium, and now, in the 6th century, a new man steps onto the stage of history: Justinian I, an emperor with a burning ambition to restore the ancient glory of Rome. But could he turn that dream into reality? Or was it merely a fragile illusion destined to shatter before the storms of history? Justinian's journey is not just a tale of triumphs and architecture. It's a life and death struggle against nature and enemies, propelling Byzantium to its most dazzling heights before facing an unforeseen darkness. Let's dive into the Golden Age under Justinian I, a chapter of history filled with drama, where glory and disaster intertwine. When Justinian I ascended the throne in 527, he carried a fiery ambition to restore the Roman Empire to its full territorial and glorious splendor. Born a poor peasant in Dardania, modern-day Serbia, Justinian was not a natural heir, but with a sharp intellect and the support of his uncle, Emperor Justin I, he rose to power. From the very beginning, Justinian declared a bold goal: to reconquer the lost Roman lands from North Africa to Italy, now ruled by invaders like the Vandals and Ostrogoths. But how could a weakened empire achieve such a feat? The answer lay in a military genius, Belisarius, often compared to a modern-day Alexander the Great. With a small but elite army, Belisarius led lightning-fast campaigns, defeating the Vandals in Carthage in 533 and reclaiming Italy from the Ostrogoths by 536. These victories didn't just bring back territory, they reignited Byzantine pride, transforming Constantinople into the heart of a resurgent empire. But were these triumphs sustainable, or merely a blinding flash before the coming storm? Alongside his military conquests, Justinian focused on rebuilding the empire from within. He ordered the construction of grand monuments, the most iconic being Hagia Sophia, a masterpiece of architecture that still captivates the world today. Picture the scene. Architects like Isidore of Miletus and Anthemius of Tralles worked tirelessly, raising a massive dome into the sky as if defying gravity. With radiant golden light streaming through stained glass windows, Hagia Sophia wasn't just a church. It was a symbol of power and faith, where the sound of prayers mingled with the cheers of the people at its dedication in 537. But behind its beauty lay drama. The structure partially collapsed during construction, forcing the architects to scramble under immense pressure from the emperor to rebuild. Justinian also issued the Corpus Juris Civilis, a colossal legal code rooted in Roman tradition, which became the foundation for modern Western legal systems. With these achievements, he turned Byzantium into an empire not only mighty in military strength, but also radiant in culture. But could these wonders conceal the cracks silently spreading beneath the surface? Standing beside Justinian was a woman of equal power, Theodora, an empress with a fierce personality and razor-sharp intellect. Born into a humble family, Theodora rose from being a performer at the hippodrome to becoming a symbol of resilience. When Justinian faced the Nika riots in 532, a violent uprising, sparked by chariot racing factions that threatened to overthrow him, Theodora intervened with a historic speech: "An empress does not flee, she fights." Her words not only saved the throne, but also proved her role as a strategic advisor. Theodora also championed women's rights, fought against human trafficking, and improved laws, making her an enduring icon of strength in Byzantine history. Yet their relationship wasn't always smooth. Rumors swirled that Theodora controlled Justinian to the point where he became her shadow. Could love and power coexist, or would they become the flame that burned the empire from within? But Justinian's golden age wouldn't last forever. In 541, a new darkness descended: the Justinian Plague, a catastrophe likely caused by the Yersinia pestis bacterium, unleashing the worst nightmare since ancient Rome. Picture the scene. Constantinople's once lively streets now echoed with cries of anguish, with thousands of bodies littering the ground, their skin swollen and oozing under the harsh sun. The plague began in Egypt, spreading along trade routes to the capital, killing tens of thousands each day. At its peak, up to 50 lives were lost daily. Justinian, though infected, survived, but he watched the empire he built crumble before his eyes. Farmers died in droves, fields lay abandoned, and the army weakened, leaving borders vulnerable to enemies. Could he overcome this disaster? Or would it be the fatal blow to his dream of a restored Rome? Historians estimate the plague claimed 25 to 50 million lives across the Byzantine Empire and the Mediterranean world, severely reducing the population and plunging the economy into crisis. Mass graves multiplied across the city, and the stench of death enveloped Constantinople, driving citizens to pray in panic with no answer from God. The plague wasn't just a natural challenge. It was a test of Justinian's leadership. He mobilized resources to aid the people, built temporary hospitals, and organized religious ceremonies to soothe the public's fears. But these efforts couldn't stop the wave of death. The plague returned in cycles over the next century, weakening the empire's social and military structure. Belisarius, the once unbeatable general, now faced tougher campaigns with a depleted army. Attacks from the Sassanid Empire in the east and the Slavs in the north further worsened the situation. Justinian, though steadfast in his vision, began to realize that glory couldn't endure against the forces of nature. Could he find a way to save the empire, or was its fate sealed from the plague's early days? The golden age of Justinian wasn't just a story of victory, it was a lesson in the fragility of greatness. Hagia Sophia stood as a witness to both the brightest and darkest days. Theodora, with her intelligence and courage, became Justinian's spiritual pillar, but even they couldn't halt the widening cracks. The Justinian Plague, a cruel reminder, showed that even the mightiest empire could fall to an invisible enemy. When Justinian died in 565, he left behind a legacy both glorious and controversial, an empire that had touched the zenith of its power but also planted the seeds for challenges that would shape its future. Could Byzantium overcome these wounds to rise again, or would it slowly slide into darkness? The journey is far from over, and we'll explore each step in the chapters ahead, where every decision is a battle for survival against the tides of history. Imagine stepping into a city where radiant golden light from stained glass windows illuminates dazzling mosaics, where sacred hymns resound beneath the legendary domes of Hagia Sophia, and where stone-paved streets buzz with the laughter of merchants from around the world. More than a century has passed since the Justinian Plague ravaged Byzantium, and now, in the 7th and 8th centuries, this empire not only survived but flourished in an era of remarkable stability. Yet behind that beauty lies a tale of drama, unique cultural blend, a complex legal system, and fierce diplomatic battles. Can Byzantium maintain this stability against lurking enemies, or is it merely a calm before a greater storm? Join us as we step into the era of stability, and Culturia chapter of history, where art, power, and survival intertwine in every breath of the empire. After the dark days of the Justinian Plague, Byzantium began to reclaim its strength under emperors like Heraclius, who ascended the throne in 610. He not only repelled the Sassanid invasion, but also reorganized the military, transforming it into a more flexible force with the Thamisa defense system based on regions controlled by troops. Picture Byzantine soldiers, shields and swords in hand, patrolling rugged hills, ready to guard the borders against eastern foes. But stability didn't come from military might alone. It arose from a cultural fusion that defined Byzantium. Greek culture, deeply rooted since the days of Alexander the Great, blended with Roman heritage and Christian spirit, creating a unique civilization. Mosaics in churches, depicting Christ and saints in radiant gold and blue, became symbols of Byzantine art, a fusion of beauty and faith. Churches like Chora and monasteries on Mount Athos were not just places of prayer but centers of creativity, where artists labored tirelessly to etch God's story onto every stone. But could this beauty mask the simmering tensions within? One of the era's greatest contributions was the development of the Cyrillic alphabet, crafted by missionaries like Cyril and Methodius to spread Christianity to the Slavs. Imagine monks under candlelight, carefully carving each letter onto parchment, bringing the light of knowledge to distant lands like Bulgaria and Serbia. The Cyrillic script wasn't just a missionary tool, it became the foundation for the language and literature of many nations, making Byzantium the educational hub of the Eastern Christian world. But this spread wasn't always smooth. Disputes with the Western Church over religious authority began to surface, raising the question, Could Byzantium unite Christianity, or would division become a fatal wound? Byzantine culture also shone through music. Byzantine hymns, with their haunting and complex melodies, filled ceremonies, starkly different from the simpler chants of the West. This was an era where art wasn't just decoration but a declaration of the empire's power and identity. Alongside culture, Byzantium's legal system reached its peak, building on Justinian's legacy and strengthening it in the centuries that followed. The Corpus Juris Civilis, issued in 533, wasn't just a collection of old Roman laws but a legal revolution, with thousands of statutes organized to govern every aspect of life, from trade to marriage. Picture scribes in the palace, laboring by lamplight to copy texts, bringing law to every corner of the empire. This system not only managed a diverse empire but also profoundly influenced modern European law, from France to Germany. But enforcing the law wasn't always easy. Disputes between regions, from peasants to nobles, often led to riots, forcing emperors to use force to maintain order. Could this system hold the empire together, or would it become a burden in times of crisis? Byzantium's foreign relations during this period were a complex drama, where every alliance carried the risk of betrayal. After Heraclius defeated the Sassanids, the empire faced a new threat: the Arab invasions beginning in 634, as Islam rose under Muhammad's leadership. Picture Arab armies, green flags fluttering in the desert wind, advancing into Syria and Palestine, seizing lands once held by Byzantium. Heraclius, exhausted from the Sassanid wars, tried to fight back, but heavy losses forced him to sign a treaty, ceding territory. These wars not only weakened the military, but also drained the treasury, raising the question, could Byzantium survive the relentless rise of this new enemy? To cope, Byzantium turned to sophisticated diplomacy, sending envoys to Frankish kings and Eastern courts, offering gold, silk, and promises in exchange for temporary peace. But these alliances were often fragile. Western rulers sometimes turned their backs, and Arab spies infiltrated the palace to sow chaos. This era also witnessed advancements in science and philosophy. Academies in Constantinople, like the Imperial Academy, became hubs for scholars studying mathematics to medicine, preserving Greek and Roman traditions. Books by Aristotle and Plato were meticulously copied, safeguarding knowledge for future generations, even as Western Europe languished in the Dark Ages. But not everything was smooth. Churches' tight control over knowledge often stifled innovation, leading to fierce debates between theologians and philosophers. Could Byzantium balance faith and reason, or would this conflict drag the empire down? The stability and culture of Byzantium were not just achievements but also challenges, where every step forward came with a risk. By the 8th century, under the reign of Leo III, Byzantium faced a new crisis: the iconoclastic controversy. Believing that the worship of icons was sinful, Leo III ordered the destruction of sacred paintings and statues, sparking outrage among the people and clergy. Picture the scene: crowds gathered before churches, raising banners in protest, while soldiers smashed priceless artworks. This crisis divided the empire, with one side supporting reform and the other defending tradition, leading to riots and even civil war. Could Byzantium overcome this division, or would it become an unhealing wound? Though Leo III ultimately succeeded in enforcing his policy, the aftermath left a legacy of distrust among parts of the population, weakening internal unity. The era of stability and culture in Byzantium was a testament to the empire's adaptability, but also a warning of lurking dangers. Its unique culture, mosaics, hymns, and the Cyrillic script established Byzantium as a beacon of Eastern Christianity, while its laws and diplomacy sustained power against enemies. But the wars with the Arabs, internal conflicts, and the Church's dominance raised a critical question: could this empire maintain its stability, or was it teetering on the edge of a greater crisis? The journey continues, and we'll explore each step in the chapters ahead, where every decision is a battle with destiny, and every achievement a step toward glory or disaster. Imagine standing on the moss-covered walls of Constantinople, where once it glowed under the sun, now trembling under the roar of enemies. More than a millennium has passed since Constantine the Great laid its foundations. and now, in the 15th century, this empire stands on the brink of extinction. From its glorious days with Hagia Sophia and resounding victories, Byzantium now sinks into the darkness of civil war, corruption, and relentless invasions. Can an empire that once bridged east and west defy its fate, or will it dissolve like dust before history's wrath? Join us as we step into the decline and fall chapter of history filled with tragedy, where past glory is now just a memory, and every moment is a fight for survival. After the era of stability and vibrant culture, Byzantium began to face insurmountable internal challenges. By the 11th century, under the reign of weak emperors, like Romanos IV Diogenes, the empire spiraled into a vortex of corruption and instability. Picture the scene. Palace officials, their hands stuffed with gold from the people's taxes, plotting against each other, while peasants in the countryside starved and rebelled. The Nika riots of 532 had been a lesson, but now smaller uprisings spread across the empire, from Anatolia to Thrace. The peak of this chaos came in 1071, when Romanos IV led his army against the Seljuk Turks at the Battle of Manzikert. Betrayed by his own generals, he was captured, and the empire lost much of its eastern territory. Could an emperor recover when his own allies turned against him? This disaster not only weakened the military but also opened the door to further invasions, placing Byzantium in dire straits. External pressures only worsened the situation. After Manzikert, the Seljuk Turks relentlessly advanced into Byzantine territory, capturing key cities like Nicaea and Antioch, turning Anatolia a vital source of resources and troops into enemy land. But that wasn't the end of it. In the 12th century, the Crusaders from the west, whom Byzantium had called upon to fight the Muslims, became a new threat. Picture the scene in 1204. Crusader knights' crosses emblazoned on their armor stormed Constantinople during the Fourth Crusade, smashing churches, looting gold from Hagia Sophia, and turning the city into a battlefield. Emperor Alexios V, powerless against this betrayal, could only watch as the empire he ruled was ravaged. Were these supposed allies trustworthy, or merely daggers in the back? This catastrophe not only reduced the population but also destroyed the economy, leaving Byzantium weaker than ever before. By the 14th century, the rising Ottoman Empire from Anatolia became the final threat. Under sultans like Murad I and Bayezid I, the Ottomans steadily encircled Constantinople with vast armies and advanced cannons. Imagine the scene. The once impregnable walls shook under the power of Ottoman artillery, while citizens inside prayed in despair. Emperor Andronikos II tried to bolster the empire by hiring mercenaries and raising taxes, but this only fueled public anger, sparking new rebellions. By the time of Manuel II, Byzantium controlled only Constantinople and a few small territories, like a candle flickering in a storm. Could an empire once mighty stand against an overwhelming foe, or was its fate sealed from the early days of decline? The end came on May 29, 1453, a day etched in history as the fall of an empire. Emperor Constantine XI, with a sword in hand and a heart full of resolve, led the final defense against Sultan Mehmed II's assault. Picture the scene. Cannons roared across the sky, walls crumbled under the might of massive guns, and the cries of Ottoman soldiers filled the air as they breached the city. Constantine, knowing hope was lost, charged into the final battle, becoming a legend as he vanished in the chaos. Constantinople fell, Hagia Sophia was converted into a mosque, and Byzantium, an empire that had endured over 10 years, officially ceased to exist. But was this truly the end, or merely a transition to a new chapter? The Ottoman conquest wasn't just a military victory, but a profound cultural and religious shift, leaving a lasting mark on the region forever. Though it fell, Byzantium left a profound legacy that shaped the world. Its art, with mosaics and hymns, inspired the Renaissance in Europe, where artists like Michelangelo found inspiration in the remnants of Hagia Sophia. The legal system, rooted in the Justinian Code, became the foundation for many modern nations, from Italy to Germany. Eastern Christianity, preserved through Byzantium's wars with the Arabs, continued to thrive in Orthodox churches, carrying the empire's legacy to Russia, Serbia, and Greece. But perhaps its greatest legacy was its role as a bridge between East and West, where Greek, Roman, and Christian cultures blended, preserving knowledge through the centuries. Imagine the books of Aristotle and Plato, meticulously copied in Byzantine monasteries, becoming the spark that ignited the Renaissance, pulling Europe from the Dark Ages. But does this legacy outweigh the loss of an empire? Or is it merely a reminder of glory's fragility? The decline and fall of Byzantium are not just a tale of failure, but a lesson in resilience. From the golden days under Justinian, the empire fought through plagues, wars, and betrayals, only to succumb to the overwhelming might of the Ottomans. Constantine XI's final sacrifice became a symbol of courage, while Hagia Sophia, beacon of glory, now stands as a silent witness to history. But the question remains, could Byzantium have avoided this fate without internal mistakes, or was its destiny written from the beginning? The empire's legacy lives not just in ruins, but in how it shaped the modern world, a legacy both glorious and tragic. Byzantium's journey has ended, but the stories of its rise and fall will forever serve as a lesson for humanity. And now, as we stand before the fallen walls of Constantinople, let's ask, will history repeat itself, or have we learned from the past? Stay tuned for more discoveries in this journey, where every step is a whisper from history. Imagine standing amid the ruins of Constantinople, where the heart of Byzantium once burned brightly, now reduced to moss-covered walls and the whisper of wind through shattered domes. Over 1,000 years ago, this empire rose from the ashes of Rome, soaring through days of glory with Hagia Sophia and epic victories, only to fall to the might of the Ottomans in 1453. But Byzantium's story isn't just about collapse, it's a dramatic saga, an epic of resilience, and a legacy that still resonates today. Can what we've learned from Byzantium shape our future, or is it merely a reminder of glory's fragility? Join us as we close this journey with conclusion and significance, profound reflection on the past and lessons for the present. Byzantium's journey was a tapestry of highs and lows. From the days when Constantine the Great laid the foundation with Constantinople, to the golden age under Justinian I, with his conquests and monumental works, this empire demonstrated extraordinary adaptability. Its unique culture-radiant mosaics, haunting hymns, and the Cyrillic script made it a beacon of Eastern Christianity, while Justinian's legal system laid the groundwork for the modern world. But then, internal cracks, corruption, civil wars, and betrayals combined with external pressures from the Crusaders and Ottomans drove the empire to its end. Constantine XI, with his final stand at the walls, became a symbol of courage, but he couldn't stop fate. On May 29, 1453, as Ottoman cannons roared and Mehmed II's green banner flew over Constantinople, an era came to a close. But was this the end, or merely a transition to a new chapter? Byzantium's legacy transcends its physical ruins. Its art, with shimmering mosaics and distinctive architecture, inspired the Renaissance in Europe, where artists like Leonardo da Vinci found light in the remnants of Hagia Sophia. The legal system, refined from Justinian's Code, became the foundation for many Western nations, from Italy to Germany, shaping how we live and govern today. Eastern Christianity, safeguarded through Byzantium's battles with the Arabs, continued to thrive in Orthodox churches, carrying the empire's spirit to Russia, Serbia, and Greece. But perhaps its greatest legacy lies in its role as a bridge between East and West, where Greek, Roman, and Christian cultures merged, preserving knowledge through the ages. Imagine the works of Aristotle and Plato, carefully copied in Byzantine monasteries, becoming the flame that ignited the Renaissance, pulling Europe out of the Dark Ages. Can we truly appreciate this legacy without asking, does Byzantium's spirit still live within us? The lessons from Byzantium serve as a warning for humanity. This empire shows that even the mightiest civilization can fall to invisible enemies like plagues or internal failures such as corruption and division. The Justinian Plague claimed millions, weakening the economy and military, while the Nika riots and the Fourth Crusade exposed the fragility of unity. Yet Byzantium also teaches us about resilience it survived for over a millennium, facing empires like the Sassanids and Ottomans, leaving an indelible mark on history. Today, as we confront global challenges like climate change and conflict, can we learn from Byzantium's mistakes, or will we repeat history? This question isn't just for the past, it's a call to action for the future. And now, as we close the story of Byzantium, let's remember that this journey isn't just about an empire, but about people, about emperors like Justinian and Constantine, empresses like Theodora, and citizens who fought until their last breath. Constantinople may be gone, but Byzantium's spirit lives in each of us in art, in law, and in our ability to overcome adversity. Look at those broken walls and ask, will history repeat, or have we found light from the past to guide tomorrow? If this story has sparked your curiosity, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell to join us in uncovering more historical mysteries. Share your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Byzantium could have avoided its fate? Together, let's continue this journey through the pages of history, where every story is a lesson, and every lesson a whisper from the past.